Dry conditions in the south, but a bumper entry to round one of the Vantage New Zealand Rally Championship. New cars, new drivers, competing to be the New Zealand Gold Star Rally Champion for 2010. Great to see Hayden Patton competing on the PWRC. So will this be the year of Richard Mason, or Chris West, or Emma Gilmore in a new Subaru Impreza? Patrick Valley makes the step up out of the Ford Fiestas into the Evos, along with a whole stack of other young, exciting drivers keen to stake their claim on the gravel roads around New Zealand. First up, Rally Otago. Dunedin's historic railway station is the venue for the start of Rally Otago in 2010. Once again, the New Zealand Championship will run alongside the Dunlop Classic Rally, but it's a new route with the teams travelling north to Oamaru, home to the historic town centre and home to a museum dedicated to the history of rallying. From this Mini Cooper to a work Skoda, Brian Stokes' Escort, Silver Fern winner. And how about these overalls donated by Fabricia Pons from her time with Audi Sport? And there's more history as the rally follows the route of the old gold miners through Dancy's Pass. But not quite enough time for the drivers to stop for refreshments at the famous watering hole before returning to Dunedin via Palmerston. And that's just day one. And with more on the roads, here's the Vantage Stage Report with Emma Gilmore.
Day one of the 2010 Vantage Aluminium Joinery New Zealand Rally Championship, Rally of Otago, starts with a long tour north of Dunedin to the small town of Weston. Special Stage 1, Ridge Road, at 22 kilometres long, is a fantastic stage to start the championship with. Lots of junctions, makes it really interesting going through the North Otago farm country. Special Stage 2 is another long stage to start with. Again, lots of thick gravel. Dust could also be a bit of a problem. Again, a really nice stage with lots of junctions and some really fast sections. After a short service stop at Livingston, we head into Special Stage 3, Dancy's Pass. Another famous stage. This stage has everything in it, with some steep climbs and steep descents. Your brakes will definitely know about it by the end of this stage. We have one more short stage before service, Shag Valley Back Road. This is a great stage set up mainly for the spectators, with a deep forward crossing at the start of it before a nice fast blast uphill over sort of farm type roads with no real ditches and no real fences on the edges of the road. After service at Palmerston, we head into one of my favourite stages of the event, Tyree Peak. This stage is really fast and flowing with some nice crests, again thick gravel which will make a bit of disadvantage to the front running cars, but a fantastic stage. Following this, we go back and we repeat Shag Valley Back Road. It'll be really interesting this time through to see how much the road is cleared and how much of a disadvantage the front-running cars had from sweeping the gravel clear. Special Stage 7, Silver Peaks, is a unique stage for us this year in that it's the only forestry stage that we see. A great stage, starts on flowing roads again before heading into the forest, where again we see the same type of Otago technical forest fast roads. Last stage of the day is a small stage around an inner city Dunedin block. Great opportunity to show the Dunedin crowds what rallying is all about, albeit on tarmac.
Saturday morning, and Richard Mason will lead the field away from the Dunedin Casino. It's a long 130-kilometre tour to Stage 1, Ridge Road. So the town of Weston is invaded by the teams for a fuel top-up and a change from road tyres to rally tyres before the stage starts.
3, 2, 1, go. 25 left, keep left.
Dry conditions, thick gravel on the road, so what will that mean for the drivers?
Small crest, 20.
Well, for Richard Mason, basically he's going to be road sweeper all day because it is very thick gravel. And his Subarus, they don't have the grunt that can push themselves out of the gravel. Now Richard Mason, he's gone for a soft compound tyre, he's gone for a used tyre, but he's put a very aggressive cut in it.
This is the spectator point, and look at the dust that Mason is kicking up.
Well, Andrew Hawkswood, he's starting number 2 on the road. Well, this will be interesting. Andrew drives a Group A car, and he loves to slide the car around on these gravel conditions. He's taken a little bit of a gamble this morning because he's gone for a 195, a very narrow tyre, to work into these conditions, and you can already see Andrew throwing the car around.
Yes, he's got that fantastic wild style for the wild man. Emma Gilmore now ready to depart. Hopefully the two cars in front will have reduced some of that gravel on the road, giving her a bit more grip.
Well, the problem for Emma, there's probably going to be two different lines on the road because both Richard and Andrew drive totally different. So really, she's effectively sort of number two on the road in this brand new car. You can see there, the dust could be a problem in some places.
Braking 80, turn loose 3 right narrow.
Well, you can actually see on that shot there the two lines, one for Andrew and one for Richard. So definitely a problem for Emma. Oh, she just missed a gear going over that bridge.
So will Jeff Argyle be the first to take advantage of a swept road on his open class Evo 7. Co-driver Philip Deacon has just one event under his belt, so a real baptism of fire and dust on the roads of Otago.
Yeah, the dust will make it very difficult for the new co-driver.
Chris West on the line, a new car back with Chris Cobbin again and hoping for a better run than in 2009.
Yes, a disastrous year last year for Chris West, but Andrew Sims, the whole team, they put it together, hoping that this year buying a new car will solve their problems. You hear Chris there yelling about the dust, so it's a big problem for these drivers early on.
Long 4 right.
So with the top 5 out of the stage now, let's see what time Richard Mason can set first up on the road.
18.
13:28.4 over 22 Ks. I suspect that time will be beaten.
And it was too with the two open class cars. Argyle 13:19.3 and Hawkswood at a 13 minutes .05.
Yeah, Hawks was flying early on. Emma down 13:24.4, quicker than Mason, but slower than the open cars.
3 right.
Fifth on the road, Chris West has got the better conditions though.
4 left minus 80.
Wow, look at that time, 12:58.9. He's just taken 30 seconds off Mason over 22 Ks. A swept road condition. What can Stuart Taylor do with this? He is in the perfect place for a really good time on stage 1.
Stuart Taylor making his return to the championship at an Evo 10. These cars yet to score a victory in New Zealand, so big expectations here. A little bit wide.
Well, he's certainly trying, and these Evo 10s are more powerful than the Evo 9s. They're stronger and heavier, but these roads should suit the new cars.
Remember the time to beat, 12 minutes 58.9 by West, and he's done the same as Hawks with 13:05. Dean Sumner, great to see him back after a year away. This car, new last season, still a fresh car. Co-driver Paul Fallon back after a season co-driving with Daniel Harris in the Fiesta.
13:22.7, 6th fastest, but well down on West's time at the moment.
This is the newest car in the field, built by Rally Art New Zealand. Glenn Smith, returning to the championship this year. He's been competing in the regional rallies in an older car. Great to see him back.
Yes, Glenn's attracted back to the championship by the increase in power this year, having 33mm restrictors, but having to deal with a lot of dust here.
Can't see nothing, right?
Small crest, 5 right plus. There's your small crest, 5 right plus.
Oh, big crash.
Oh, and Glenn Smith, what a tragic return to the championship.
I couldn't see nothing.
Man.
Well, the dust has got him. He actually said it way before he got to that corner. He couldn't see anything through the dust.
Wow, first stage, first big prank of the rally of the year. Last year, Patrick Malley finished the season with a podium in his Evo 9. What can he do this year?
Well, Patrick Malley's on a bit of a roll at the moment because he won the Tauranga Clubman's Rally about 2 weeks ago, and he's got the perfect road conditions.
Slots in behind Taylor in 4th place. Ben Jagger put in a good opening stage 2 to take 8th fastest time.
Well, this is the ex-Emma Gilmore Subaru from last year. He's made the step up from the 2-wheel drive Fiesta class. We expect big things of Ben Jagger this year.
Great to see both Ben and Patrick Malley doing that, stepping up out of their Ford Fiestas. Glenn Inkster too, rounding out the top 10 this year in a production class Evo 9.
Well, Glenn sponsors Transnet and also his employer. They've showed a lot of commitment with Glenn by buying him this car. This again is the ex-Stuart Taylor Evo 9 from last year. Glenn's first time in a production-based four-wheel drive car. Remember last year he drove the open car.
6 left, keep in. 5 right, 100.
So Chris West throws down the challenge to the other competitors. Road conditions making it difficult for Richard Mason and Emma Gilmore. But Stuart Taylor locked in that battle for second with Andrew Hawkswood. That's stage one. Stick around, coming up more thick gravel and dust on Rally Otago. Special stage 2, Tokarahi, 27 more kilometres of dusty roads, and once again Richard Mason bearing the brunt of the thick gravel out in front of the field.
30 long, 3 right.
Yeah, he sure is, and he's struggling away on these used Dunlops, and really that's what he'd be doing all day. This car just hasn't got the power to push the gravel away.
Don't cut, bridge, 30. 4 right plus. 3 right plus.
Mason's time, 15 minutes 53.4. Andrew Hawkswood next through and already faster than Mason by a big margin, 15 minutes 39.2. And Jeff Argyle also faster than Mason, 15:46.1. So the open class cars are doing better this morning.
66 right, 30 medium.
Emma Gilmore will be hoping too that some of that gravel has been cleaned out in front. She was 7th fastest in the stage. Not the start she was after though.
Yeah, still struggling on the road. She's got the same problem as Richard Mason, just hasn't got the power to push it out. And her time coming down, 15:49.0. She's still struggling.
So still a chance for Chris West, who's making the pace this morning, but there's plenty of dust to deal with. Seems worse on some of these stages too.
Yes, and it's intermittent. Sometimes it's good, sometimes you just go straight into a dust patch. And you see the concentration on Chris there, driving through here.
Paid off to 15:33.2, the quickest again. Stuart Taylor, the only driver to mount a challenge on this stage. He was just 3.1 seconds slower. Now sits in second place, 9.1 seconds behind West, 3 seconds ahead of Hawkswood.
Well, Stu is probably a benefactor of a nice road condition as he gets a little bit sideways there. But really, he's really surprising a lot of people.
Let's take a look at some of the movers and the shakers on this stage. First up, Kingsley Thompson up 2 places to 10th.
30.
Well, if you're wondering what that bar is across the windscreen, a lot of the drivers are running tint at the top of the screen to protect themselves from the sun when they come up over these crests.
100.
And this is the championship debut for Dave Strong, Super 2000 Ford. He was just 17th fastest on stage 1, but screaming up to 15th fastest here.
100. 5 right plus, 120. Long, 6 left and a 30.
Gotta love that screaming noise of the new Super 2000 cars. I'm talking about great sounds. Regan Ross in the historic class in the 79 Escort BDA, very much part of the New Zealand Championship. Stage 2, he was up to 13th overall. And Stephen Barker in another Ford, this time in a Group N Fiesta, leading the Group N two-wheel drive class, up 3 places to 17th.
Well, last year Stephen Barker drove a four-wheel drive car, but this year he won the Rally in New Zealand scholarship. That means he's driving a Ford Fiesta, gone back to the two-wheel drive car, but it's going to give him a lot of experience that he can bring on later into the four-wheel drives.
And it's still Western Taylor at the top. Hawkswood will be disappointed in 3rd. Dean Sumner 38 seconds off the lead. He should improve. Same for Emma Gilmore, both having a slow start.
Ben Jagger first of the juniors in 11th, and look at Regan Ross, first historic and first rookie.
15th for the Super 2000 Fiesta of Dave Strong. Phil Campbell is the first Kiwi, 2 and 18th. Early retirement too for Josh Marsden with the blown turbo. Alex Kelsey also out with a blown engine. And Dominic Unterberger was out of the rally after hitting a bridge in his Subaru, the old Richard Mason car. And talking about Richard Mason at service, he couldn't believe what it's like being first on the road, more like a grader at times.
Massive amount of gravel. I can't believe how much we're shifting. You know, the car is just bogged down through the corners just trying to shift gravel. It's amazing.
Your first 2 stages there, but how have you felt the car other than that?
I actually feel the car is good. We're just not getting the stage times out of it, so I don't think we should panic about it. That's just the way that it is. We're at a disadvantage with the gravel.
But in complete contrast, team manager Neil Allport and Chris West, a lot happy with Westie's performance.
it's definitely a good start, and it's probably important in those two with the fact that the surface is quite heavily gravelled, and it looks as though it's by the time so it's getting worse as well.
And from the Evo 9 to the Evo 10, and Stuart Taylor definitely getting a bit of an advantage with the new car.
Really concentrating on staying in that swept line and keeping a bit of commitment over the fast cresty stuff.
So the swept line appearing?
It is, but I don't know that it's as hard-packed as some other roads. It actually chews up a bit and becomes a bit soft in places, especially on the slower sections, but in the fast parts it helps.
Now a stunning and historic stage. Dancy's Pass is a popular tourist trail nowadays, and the stage finishes just before the historic pub. Once again, conditions are dusty, thick gravel at the start of the stage.
2, 1, go.
Well, there's just some signs there. Rich is not quite used to this car, the way he got off the line there. But again, he's going to have to be road sweeper. We saw him in the service park just prior to this, putting some very aggressive cuts in those tyres.
40.
Another tough test for Richard Mason, first on the road.
Right, minus.
Magnificent conditions, but tough out there with that thick gravel. Andrew Hawkswood still in contention here. He leaves the start currently in third, leading the open class cars. Jeff Argyle will be hoping that he can peg back some of the 20-second deficit he has over Hawkswood over the stage.
And the open four-wheel drive cars are a little bit of an advantage here on these roads because they've got a bit more power and they can push that gravel out.
But for Chris West, this is the chance to nail home his advantage right here, right now.
Well, Chris West is going to have a very good road condition coming in here, 5 on the road. And look at the difference that windscreen makes with that tint at the top as opposed to down the bottom.
And these roads are going to suit the Evo 10 too, of Stuart Taylor.
Well, why it suits the Evo 10 is because they can get the power down. The way the roads are fast and flowing, and with this particular car, he can carry a lot of momentum.
Patrick Malley, top 5 going into the stage, just 1.1 seconds behind Jeff Argyle.
Well, it's very important that Patrick Malley actually stays in those road tracks. The minute you get offline, you lose a lot of time.
And Dean Sumner, another 4.3 seconds back, squeezed between Malley and Gilmore, fighting for position.
Well, again, Dean Sumner's got the perfect road condition, but you can see the disadvantage he's got is the dust. Every time he goes over a crest, all of a sudden, for a split second, you can't see.
So Richard Mason winds his way through the middle of the stage, creating a bit of a trail of dust as well.
Yeah, he'll be hoping that the dust actually stays around a bit because then that's going to affect the drivers behind him and it'll give him a little bit of an advantage.
Opens.
Let's see what sort of stage time Richard can create here. These are the new stages in the Vantage New Zealand Championship. So no stage records to go by. Mason crosses the line, 19 minutes, 48 seconds. An average speed of just 88 kilometres an hour. Andrew Hawkswood just a second faster through the stage. So the question is, has Mason improved or has Hawkswood got a problem? Big problems though for Jeff Argyle. His car overheating. The best he could do was 19 minutes, 57.4. So can Chris West extend his lead through this crucial stage? A lot of deep valleys in this stage, so the dust could be a problem. Let's go on board and see what Westy can do.
Chris West coming towards the end of the special stage. And see that yellow board on the inside there? That's warning the drivers 200 metres before the finish line, which is the red board, right here.
1942.2, it's faster, but not by much. So it looks like Richard Mason has made the right changes. He's still slower, but West and Taylor might not be getting such a big advantage now.
9.2 seconds was the advantage to West over Taylor going into this stage. I just get the feeling that the Evo 10 may come into its own through here. Better power delivery. This is a battle for the lead.
He needs to beat 19.33 to take the lead, and he's done it. 19.30. Oh, new rally leader. On board with Emma Gilmore now. And looks like we have a new rally hazard. Look at that, she's been slowed up by the cows.
This is disaster because you don't really know which way to go. She's got to go softly, softly past there.
Stage runs through an open farm, so that is real bit of bad luck for Emma Gilmore. She'll lose time too.
Very important for her to keep her concentration up after that.
And she drops to 9th place.
Just because I overheated them coming down the hill.
But after a slow start, Dean Sumner is putting in some good times on the stage. After a break of nearly 12 months from competitive driving, Dean and co-driver Paul Fallon are back in the groove.
They certainly are. One thing they've done is they've written their own notes, and Dean spent a lot of time in the off-season perfecting the notes. Let's see how he goes through this stage.
Crosses the line, 19.33.8. That moves Sumner up to 4th overall. Now, we've seen how Patrick Malley has benefited from his time in the two-wheel drive Fiestas. Now it's Ben Jagger's turn to turn heads. The nephew of former New Zealand champion Brian Stokes driving Emma Gilmore's old Subaru. And he lays down the challenge on this stage.
Well, Ben was well up at halfway point. He's driving very well. He's got a good time coming in here. Can he keep it going? Remember, this is only his 3rd stage in four-wheel drive car.
19.37.3. He's 3rd fastest on the stage, up to 8th, and there's more to come in Rally Otago. Back to the Vantage Aluminium Joinery New Zealand Rally Championship Round 1. It's Rally Otago. This is stage 4, and it's Trevor Taylor in the Zero safety car leading them through Shag Valley Road, 7.5 kilometres, so not a lot would change except out in front. Chris West laying down the challenge to the leader, Stuart Taylor, here with a 4-minute 37. Taylor a little slower than Westy through the Ford, and it would cost him 4 minutes 41.5. So back to 2nd place, 1.3 seconds now behind West. What a great battle out in front. Great to see the fans checking out the action too. No real changes on such a short stage. Let's take a look at the class battles happening through the rally. In the Historics, Regan Ross had the lead, now 13th overall. Jeff Judd and Mark Tapper had swap roles for the rally. Juddy driving with Tapper co-driving. 2nd in the Historics on the Chevette HSR. Ron Davey 3rd on his Escort. Veteran driver enjoying a battle with Silver Fern rally organiser Carl Rabbage, who was back in 4th. Staying with the Ford theme, just 3 Fiestas competing in the Group N section this year. Stephen Barker leading the way in the Rally New Zealand entry. Stephen repaying the faith that the scholarship judges had in him to be 15th overall going into the lunch break. Last year's scholarship driver Ben Hunt has put together his own team this year. He was just 38 seconds behind. Now on board with Dave Strong and the Super 2000 little Ford Focus. Approaching the water.
Well, he's approaching with caution, but he's got a problem.
Too much caution.
Well, I think he's got water up inside that motor. I think the motor's hydraulic.
He's beached it.
That would be a very expensive exercise, I would think.
Brand new car, not the way he thought he would finish the rally. The final class to feature this season, the Kiwi 2, a great battle between 3 very different cars. The diesel Skoda of Matt Summerfield in a battle with the newcomer, Phil Campbell, in his Mirage V6. Campbell just edging out a lead after 4 stages. And the veteran former champ, Reg Cook, another 90 seconds back in that battle in his Nissan Micra. So going into service at Palmerston, Westy takes back the rally lead by just 1.3 seconds. Hawkswood in 3rd, but nearly 25 seconds back.
Argyle 6th, and look at Ben Jagger 7th, but Richard Mason, Emma Gilmore, they're suffering.
Regan Ross still holding 13th, Stephen Barker leading the Fiestas in 15th, and lots to think about in service.
Yeah, it certainly has been road sweeping duties this morning. Like, we've run a soft cut tyre that would normally wear out really fast in normal conditions, and we've used those tyres for 4 stages in a row, and they look like they've done half a stage, you know, so it definitely is doing a massive amount of sweeping. I've looked at everybody else's tyres and they're getting some tyre wear, so we must be getting the loose stuff out of the way, and they're actually getting something happening in below that.
And despite being 25 seconds down and 2 on the road, Andrew Hawkswood quite happy with his performance so far.
A little bit of a surprise. I thought it might have been dusted a bit harder with the amount of gravel on the road this morning, but no, I'm pleasantly surprised to be in 3rd.
The gravel's really affecting Richard Mason and your 2 on the road. Is it not affecting you as much?
We got a little bit more power, and we're probably on a totally different line to Richard as well. So you know, it's probably he'll be getting caught with the horsepower. Like, we've definitely got a bit more power.
And after being caught out with some cows on the stage, Emma Gilmore's had, well, one of those mornings.
Car's performing really well, just struggling with the amount of loose gravel on the road and the dust. More so the loose gravel, really. You can't do much about it. But, other than that, the car is going well. We had a problem with the water pump before Danzy's pass, so we had no intercooler spray for those 2 stages, which did rob a bit of power. But other than that, no complaints.
And making a line for the lead in a great battle with Chris West, Stu Taylor right up there in the Evo 10.
We're pushing on at a comfortable pace, and it just sort of happened that way that we've ended up in the front. But I think the pace is starting to increase and people get a bit more confidence in their cars.
Talking about a good time and a good day so far, a good change of luck, Chris West.
Definitely a good start to this morning, and it's just a matter of building on that for this afternoon and see where we can get on the rest of them.
Looks like you're in a fairly good place in terms of being on the road.
Yeah, road position I think this morning was probably no real advantage, but certainly this afternoon it may be towards an advantage later this afternoon.
Stage 5, Tidy Peak runs from Palmerston through to the massive McRae's gold mine along Golden Downs Road. Richard Mason and that golden Subaru first on the road. The gravel's not quite so bad here, so Mason could be a good chance for him to just get a bit more time in the car, get used to it and try and salvage as many points as possible.
5 right plus opens.
His time 16 minutes 38 seconds. Now back on the start line, Chris West.
3, 2, 1, go. 80.
And this is where the battle lies today. West allowed Taylor in on stage 3, but now he has 30 kilometres to take back an advantage as the rally heads home to Dunedin.
Well, Chris West really has to push into stage, and he certainly is pushing. He'd be fairly familiar with these roads because they're pretty close to where he grew up in Timaru. But big commitment stuff over these long crests and these big, long, fast stages.
What can he do? His time 16 minutes 14.1. Stuart Taylor letting it all hang out as he responds to the pressure.
Well, pressure plus at the top, and Stu Taylor, he's really trying. He must keep it in those tracks. Can he retain the rally lead as he comes to the finish line?
17.9, he's slower, and West extends the lead to 5.1 seconds. Hawkswood through the stage, his time 16.33, so nowhere near the pace of West and Taylor. Could his third place be at risk, though?
Well, this is a man that can challenge, and Dean Sumner 16 seconds down on Hawkswood going into the stage. If he can match Westy's pace, he'll get right in front of Hawkswood. Can he do it?
16.40, no, he loses time to Hawkswood.
That wasn't very good, man.
And he knows it too.
Yeah, disappointed Dean Sumner. Well, maybe the challenge for third will come from Patrick Malley. He was just 5 seconds behind Sumner in 5th place. So is this his chance to improve?
7 left, minus 50.
Well, Patrick Malley, he's the form driver at the moment, and look at that road he's got, a beautifully swept road. Can he move a few places ahead?
16.22.6, that moves him to 4th, and he's just 12 seconds behind Hawkswood now, so good performance by Malley. Emma Gilmore lost time in stage 3 when she was slowed by some cattle on the road, but now with better road conditions, she's on the move again.
Still 3 on the road, it will be a struggle for her, but coming down to the finish line, what's her time going to be?
16.26.8, she moves up 3 places to 6th. Jeff Argyle slipping back to 7th after a slow time through the stage. Obviously the problems with the engine still bugging his challenge. And a good run in the morning. Ben Jagger just 9th fastest on this stage. And that's enough to drop him down to 9th, 3 seconds behind Richard Mason.
But even so, at this stage, it's a pretty impressive debut in a four-wheel drive car.
Glenn Inkster still coming to grips with the production car he's racing this year compared to the open class car from last year.
And the reason for that is because you've got to drive the cars totally different driving styles. So Glenn will take a few rallies to get into the Group N production car.
Kingsley Thompson here in the Evo 10.
Well, just have a look at those roads. Absolutely flat out in top gear over these crests. A bit of air coming through here.
Got to be committed on the Otago roads. Matt Jansen has been struggling with a centre diff problem all day.
And what that does, it basically gives him inconsistent grip. So sometimes he comes in the turn, he'll have quite a bit of grip. The other time it will just be rear wheel grip and the car will just slide around like it just has done there. And it's gone over the fence.
Lucky escape there for Matt Jansen and co-driver Jason Farmer.
Get out. Yeah, looks like there's a gate over there, bro.
And while Matt and Jason gate crash their own party, stick around, more great action coming up from Rally Otago. Welcome back, and finally the stage of the day that Richard Mason has been waiting for. Stage 6 is a repeat of the short stage 4, so road conditions will be absolutely perfect finally for the dude out in front of the field.
3 left.
Well, I bet he's been looking forward to this all day, so now he'll be able to figure out where he's going with this car. With a swept road, he can just get a good feel of it as they come through a triple caution, and it's a Ford here.
3 right minus in junction.
Which he gets through and attacks quite nicely, and he's on his way.
100.
Great shots here in the Rally Otago. Now remember, they've already been through the stage, and check this out. He takes a shortcut. Are they allowed to do that?
Yes, they are, because there is no tulip in the road book at all, and there's a track. There's a little farmer's track here that just cuts a little bit of the road out, and they can actually go through there and save a little bit of time.
Cutting move by Richard Mason. Chris West on the stage now, through that Ford at the start. Remember, it's already claimed Dave Strong. Westy's out okay. Look at the race face of Chris West.
Well, the interesting thing here is going to be whether or not Chris West takes a shortcut as well. And yes, he is. Well, again, perfectly legal to do this.
Shaving off a few seconds.
3 left minus into 3 right.
Stu Taylor now. Can he beat West, take over the lead? Safely through the fuel. Well, almost. No,
there's a problem there. I can hear the motor. I think that thing's hydraulic. It's got water inside it. That'll be a new motor.
So Hawkswood now moves up to second place, but at the stage end, he was nearly 50 seconds down on leader Chris West. Patrick Melly goes to third place. He was just 12 seconds behind Hawkswood, so no doubt he'll be pushing right to the end. And a great battle now for fourth and fifth between Dean Sumner and Emma Gilmore. Let's go on board both drivers to see how much time can be saved by taking that cut.
Well, this is very interesting. Emma Gilmore not taking the cut. Let's see if the cut is quicker. Dean Sumner on the inside, and definitely quicker because Dean's out first.
2.9 seconds faster at the end of the stage, so looks like Emma lost out by not taking the shortcut. 16 kilometres of Silver Peaks Road to go before the tarmac special around the Dunedin port. This road starts as a country road before turning off through private forest, so it's packed hard gravel. Chris West has pushed hard all day, hasn't put a foot wrong, extended his lead here to 54.7 seconds. Looks like he'll be in a position to challenge for the title this year. Andrew Hawkswood had hoped that extra power in his open class car would give him an advantage, but he would have to settle for second today. Patrick Malley had been the big mover over the afternoon. He would close to within 5 seconds of Hawkswood, take third place points on offer, and show that he really has carried the pace from the end of last season through to this year.
Opens 100.
Good return to the championship too for Dean Sumner, securing fourth place. Emma Gilmore, a stage win at last for Emma here. A bit of a frustrating day though, third on the road all day.
Frustrating, all right, but I think they can take a bit out of today into tomorrow and maybe use tomorrow's for a little bit more testing and get a little bit further ahead with his car.
No stage wins for Richard Mason. He was the gravel sweeper all day today. Very frustrating being out there in the front of the field.
And being a gravel sweeper all day, Richard didn't get a lot of mileage or a lot of time in there to set his car for the perfect road condition. Tomorrow could be another day.
Jeff Argyle was nursing home his open class car with a suspected head gasket problem. 7th, so he had done well to be in touch with Mason under 10 seconds behind. And Ben Jagger aiming for the top 10 on debut. He scored third fastest time on stage 3 and would finish the day in 8th place. Good skills.
Very impressive. A lot of people impressed with this performance. This could be a future star in the making. Again, he's driving a green car.
Yes, Hayden Patton, of course. Disappointing day, though, for Glenn Inkster on debut in the production class. Slower than the pace that he had shown last season in the open class car, but at least today he had no mishaps and the reliability of car has been good. Kingsley Thompson, 10th overall in the Evo 10.
Well, a good day today for Kingsley Thompson. Again, a little bit more time in the car. Needs to get used to these faster roads so he can get the absolute most out of this Evo 10, because they are good on these conditions.
The historic class is running again in the New Zealand Championship, and Regan Ross continued to impress. 12th by stage 5. He would move up to 11th outright by the end of the day. And Jeff Judd was starting to get to grips with the Vauxhall Chevette. He would finish the day 14th overall, second in the historics. Go Juddy.
Well, and also he kept Mark Tapper in the passenger seat all day.
First time they haven't had a crash. Ron Davey brought his escort home in third in the class. Rally New Zealand organisers would have been happy with the scholarship winner Stephen Barker, fastest of the Group N two-wheel drive cars, 13th overall. He had driven well to retain a 45-second buffer to the next Fiesta.
Tightens to 4+. Don't go wide. 60.
Last year's scholarship winner Ben Hunt, running his own team this year, built the new car over the summer. He was second in the class, 16th overall. Just behind him, Matt Summerfield had been battling for the Kiwi 2 lead in the diesel Skoda. Phil Campbell had surprised everyone by leading the class on debut in the championship, but his gearbox failed on stage 6. So that left Reg Cook in second place in the class in that little Nissan. No changes from the tarmac sprint, the final stage of the day, but Sloane Cox managed to win the stage after a less than perfect day, which saw him lose power and lots of time in the Ford on stage 4 and 6. So Chris West takes the day by nearly a minute from Hawkswood. Patrick Malley third, 4.9 seconds behind.
Being number one on the road has cost Richard Mason today, but look at Ben Jagger, takes the lead in the Junior Championship.
Regan Ross leads the rookies and the historics. Cox and Barker just behind.
Disappointing day for Matt Jansen, 17th. Matt Summerfield takes Kiwi 2 lead.
Great to see all the historics still running. Marcus Van Klink limps home 25th after a difficult day.
Yeah, it's certainly been a long time between drinks, but I know it's been, it's a credit to the whole Andrew Sims Mitsubishi team. It's a team effort at the end of the day, and we've worked pretty hard on the off season to ensure that we've got everything right to get the best possible start.
Right from the word go this morning, really, you're on the pace. You won the first stage.
Yeah, I've said all day, the car just feels fantastic, and it's a pleasure to drive. So. It's full credit to to the guys that built it and rally out, and we obviously just got to keep the upkeep on it now and keep pressing on. It's a reasonably big championship, but it's a nice way to start.
Next up, day 2 of the Vantage New Zealand Rally Championship.
Day 2 of the 2010 Rally of Otago starts with the traditional Otago Rally stages before we head inland to Middlemarch and start of the Central Otago Rail Trail. Starting with Warri Flat, this 13-kilometre stage is a great way to start the day. Some really challenging fords at the end should make some interesting air for the spectators. Special Stage 10, Curry Bush, is another fast Otago stage. Starting off on a narrow road before opening out over fast blind crests near the finish, it's a real buzz to drive this fully committed on your notes. Our last stage before service is Waipori Gorge. Another interesting stage in that it appears quite tight and twisty, but actually has a very fast average speed, and with the river right beside you, definitely keeps you on your toes. Special Stage 12, Bald Hill, is a traditional Middlemarch stage. Very fast and very wide, it changes character just before the finish where the road narrows up and tightens up as we head down the hill. Special Stage 13, Longdale, is an interesting stage. Starts off quite fast before we get to a T-junction through a cattle grid, where we then descend down to the finish with some quite technical sections over crests. Special Stage 14, Hartfield, is a new stage for us this year, although we ran it last year in the reverse direction. An interesting stage again in that it's fast, mixed up with some steep gully descents, which make it quite technical. Very, very fast finish with over a half a kilometre straight to see who has the top speed. Stage 15, Bald Hill, is the first repeat stage of the day. There's a big spectator junction right near the start of the stage, so you want to make sure you do a good job here to impress the big crowd. The final stage of the rally is a new stage called Netthorn. At 29 kilometres long, this stage has a bit of everything in it. It starts off very fast with a very loose surface. We then have some steep technical section descents before we end up out of the coast north of Dunedin.
So it's a traditional Rally Otago stage to start the day, the only forest stage for the day. Whare Flat, a few kilometres north of the city. A signature stage on the New Zealand Rally Championship for years, and it's well worn here, so not too much of a disadvantage for Chris West being first on the road today in day 2.
Not like yesterday, so it's not going to be too bad for Chris. In fact, he thinks so as well, because he's gone for soft tyres and he's got no cut in it. Obviously trying pretty hard there as well.
Over the Ford, 8 minutes 40.3, slower than last year's time. Andrew Hawkswood started second on the road. He puts in a great time, straight up to 8 minutes 31.8, 9 seconds faster than Westy. Patrick Millie made a good start to day 1, and we can expect to see him in the top 5 all season. Hopefully.
Well, he's made the transition from the two-wheel drive car last season into the four-wheel drive, and it's made a big difference driving that two-wheel drive to the way he can drive a four-wheel drive.
Right over 4 to 5 right plus finish. 60.
Coming down to the line then is time, 8 minutes 46.2, 14 seconds down on Hawkswood. So disappointing start for Patrick Melly. So after 3 cars, only Andrew Hawkswood seems to be on the pace. Can Dean Sumner put in a good time here?
Well, he got away at a fair pace, and looks like he's carrying that pace through the stage as well. Dean had a good solid run yesterday, so we can expect a really good run with him today as well. Little bit of dust early on in the forest.
8 minutes 36.9, Sumner's second fastest so far. 5th on the road today, Emma Gilmore. She'll be hoping that this will be the chance to really catch up some speed on day 2.
Well, she'll be glad she's not looking at the heavy gravel today, starting at 5 on the road. But this is where she grew up in Dunedin, so she'd be very familiar with the roads today.
Down to the line, 8 minutes 37.6. She's 5.8 seconds down on Hawkswood. Finally, Richard Mason gets his chance to really check out this new car.
All right, minus.
Today, he won't be that gravel sweeper. So can he make up some lost time from day 1?
7 left and right.
Well, again, he can probably do some work on the car, do some settings on the car, get it set up perfectly for later on. So probably early on, they'd be doing a lot of that. Just Richard getting used to running this car today on good road conditions.
Down to the line, 8 minutes 38.9. He's 1.3 seconds down on Emma Gilmore. Jeff Argyle showing that this stage suits the open class cars. 8 minutes 56.5, second fastest so far. Ben Jagger, the young graduate of the Fiesta class, he was in the top 10 on day 1.
Very impressive on day 1. And he's certainly looking as if he's driving pretty hard here at the moment. In fact, very hard. He's just gone off over the finish line.
And just about took out the timing crew. 8 minutes 41.6. He's behind Westy though. And while the timing crew gets sorted out, it's go on board with Glenn Inkster. He'll be hoping for a better run than yesterday.
And also a better run than last year, because he went off towards the end of the stage here. But traditionally, Glenn goes quite well in these sort of road conditions. And these conditions will probably suit the production car as well. Nice, smooth, wide road where you can carry that momentum power.
And a sensational time, 8 minutes 33.5, second fastest, just 1.7 seconds off the pace set by Hawkswood. Matt Jansen's crew had done a gearbox change overnight to try and fix the centre diff problem. Can they do it?
Well, Matt will be able to put his head down and concentrate today, because yesterday the car was just doing its own thing, really. But at the moment, the car looks very smooth. So this looks like a good start. 9th fastest, 8 minutes 45.6. Sloane Cox getting into the top 10 on this stage with an equal time to Jansen. So a better start for day 2 for the young Rotorua driver. Right, back now to another classic Otago stage, Kuri Bush on the Otago Coast Hills. Winds its way up and down like a road in the Finnish forest. Yes, it's yuppin' jumpin' territory, and the brave always rewarded. Hang on to your hats. Well, Chris knows this stage well. He's rallied on this stage many, many times. So the scene set. Is this a perfect place for Chris West to make his charge on day 2? Down to the finish.
8 minutes 0.3, that's the benchmark. Dust hanging in the air as Andrew Hawkswood comes through the stage. Must have slowed him down. His time, 8 minutes 11.2.
7 left, minus 30.
So Chris West moves into the lead for now. Maybe Patrick Malley can move up as well.
Well, dust could be a problem, especially going over his crest. Very difficult to see. He's got to rely on the notes. And also the sun coming up as well could be a problem.
8:13.4, he's behind Hawkswood. Right, can Dean Sumner find his way through the dust cloud as well?
Well, he's gritting his teeth, he's concentrating. The sun and dust could be a problem here. Must listen to the notes.
Over finish and 5 left tightens.
8 minutes 6.5, third fastest for Dean Sumner. Emma Gilmore now was fifth after stage 9, 2.7 seconds ahead of Chris West. So if she can close the gap to Westie's time, she can have a shot at the lead.
Well, familiar ground, and Glenn McNeil, he's pointing to the finish line. Can she get into the rally lead? Coming across the finish.
8 minutes 01.8, she will take the lead over Westie by 1.2 seconds. Right, Richard Mason now in the other new look Subaru Impreza for this year. Always fast in these conditions as well.
Well, no heavy gravel to worry about. He may have a bit of a dust problem here. He's actually talking to his co-driver, but he's got the race face on. He's concentrating. Can he get into the rally lead and get past Emma Gilmore?
Tightens to 6 plus over 2 crests. 50. Finished in long 5 left. 13. 5 right over crest.
Yep. 8 minutes 07.1, that's only fourth fastest, so disappointing for Mason. Jeff Argyle having more overheating issues, drops 3 places to 6th. Also in trouble, Glenn Inkster, after that great first stage, drops down 6 places, now 25 seconds off the leader. Ben Jagger keeping cool in these trying conditions.
Well, it looks like the sun's gone too, so therefore that's an advantage for him. But trying conditions for the youngster, he probably hasn't seen this sort of stuff before.
Respectable time, 8 minutes 23.8, drops him to 9th overall. Still inside the top 10. Another young driver, Sloan Cox. He's taken a different path to Jagger, starting off in the older 4-wheel drive cars rather than the Fiesta 2-wheel drives. Now this is his second season with his Evo 10. Looks like these two are going to be close all season as well. So that's the top 10 after 2 stages, but check this out.
Well, the very first Mark II Escort was debuted in 1975 by Mike Marshall, and listen to the BDA.
8th fastest on this stage. Jeff Judd of the Vauxhall Chevette HSR. These cars, genuine historics these days. And Ron Davey, great story there.
Yeah, Ron Davey started co-driving for Chris Joblin and Roger Goss way in the early days. Now he's decided to have a go himself.
Talking about the great old days, Carl Ravage and another Escort. He actually battled Escorts in the 70s. And here's proof that you don't need a very exotic historic to compete. That's Adam Fisher in a 1980 Toyota Starlet. And here's Miles McElwain in a Toyota Corolla. And stick around, we're back with more action on day 2 of Rally Otago. Welcome back, and let's leave the nostalgia behind as we head to Waipori Gorge near Outram, the final stage of the morning before the cars head to Middlemark. Now this stage has commitment all the way. It's fast and open at the start, a narrow gorge with big drops, river on the right, sheer cliffs on the left.
Yes, it's a traditional stage here at Otago, and it's a boomer as well. Chris West, he's done this stage many, many times. He's been on fire this morning. Richard Mason set the stage record here in 2008, 7:52.2. Westie across the 200-metre board. What's he going to do time-wise?
Won't be faster this year. It's 8 minutes 05.9. This is the battle, though. Can Emma Gilmore stretch her lead? She's yet to claim victory on a leg of the New Zealand Championship. It would mean a lot to her to do so in front of the hometown fans from Rally Otago.
100.
Well, this is completely different from yesterday. In fact, Emma's on fire, going a little bit wide there across the 200-metre board. Can she hold the rally lead?
8 minutes 08.1. No, she drops to second by just a second. Right, next up, Andrew Hawkswood.
Andrew had a bit of a scare on the second stage this morning, had nearly a big off in 5th gear, so maybe he could be a bit tentative in here.
Dropped 2 places to 5th on this stage despite being only 4.2 seconds slower than West. In fact, Dean Sumner would overtake Hawkswood here, moving up to 3rd place, continuing his good weekend. Now, can Richard Mason make any progress this morning?
Well, he has been making changes to the car at every opportunity, and as he said, this is like a big test for the Rally New Zealand with his new car. That's within a month's time. Well, Richard knows this stage. He holds the stage record he did in 2008. Can he put in a top time? There's no dust here, no heavy gravel to contend with. Here's his chance. He comes up to the 200-metre board. Can he get into the rally lead at this stage?
Looking good. Down to the line is time. 8 minutes 06.4, just half a second off West. So Mason moves to 4th place, just 0.6 behind Sumner. A short stage, cool conditions, so Jeff Argyle able to nurse his car through with a good time. He'll keep 6th place, but Ben Jagger on the move here, showing that he really wants to be a top 5 contender.
Well, Ben's looking pretty good already for the battle in the Junior Rally Championship. His major rivals, Sloane Cox and Joss Marsden, he's well ahead of them at the moment.
6th fastest on the stage, 7th overall. And ahead of Patrick Malley too. He dropped another place to be 8th, now 1.9 seconds behind Jagger. And with Sloane Cox just 3.1 seconds back, this is a great battle. Westy still leads, but just 1 second back. Emma Gilmore under a second separates Sumner and Mason.
Hawkswood and Argyle battle it out for 5th place and also 1st in the open class.
Just a wee bit slow out of bed on the first one, and he managed to peg back a little bit on the following 2, but it may change, especially the road conditions for the remaining stages today.
And what a difference a day can make after a testing day 1 and a change of road position. Emma Gilmore smiles today.
Solid morning. Happy with our run through Curry Bush. Probably had a bit too much tyre wear going into Waipori Gorge and struggled a bit through there, but all in all, very happy with the morning. Much better start than yesterday.
Stage 12, Bald Hill run in the opposite direction this year, but what a stage. Wide, open, fast. No dust problems though for Chris West. First through the stage, looking good. He'll have a real big competition with Andrew Hawkswood, who holds the stage record when the stage was run in the reverse order. Let's see how Westy goes.
Well, Chris has elected to run the soft Yokohama tyres. He hasn't put a cut in them, which is a little bit surprising, but he's coming down to the finish. Will this work?
Five minutes 56.5. That's a good time, an average speed of about 107 kilometres an hour. Hawkswood, though, using all the road and more to good effect here. His time was 5 minutes 56.5. That's 0.2 seconds faster than Westy. And those changes that Jeff Argyle made at service had an immediate impact. He scorched through the stage, 3rd fastest, is 1.3 seconds behind Hawkswood. Dean Sumner under pressure, just under a second ahead of both, so he needs a faster time than Andrew to stay in 3rd.
Well, this is a real big ask for Dean through this stage. This is a power stage. The open cars have got slightly bigger restrictor in them, a little bit more power. So the older cars like Hawkswood will have an edge through this stage.
Well, 5 minutes 57.8. That ties him with Hawkswood. So pressure back on Emma Gilmore. She must put in a top time to hold on to 2nd place.
Yes, Emma has to be within 4.5 seconds of Sumner's time, or she'll drop down to 4th place.
Here we go, down towards the finish, looking good for Emma Gilmore. Five minutes 59.7. She holds on to 2nd place. Now Richard Mason looking for a couple of seconds through the stage to move up past Sumner and Hawkswood.
And 2 right minus.
Well, he has made some changes at the service brake, so he's adjusting the car all the time, but surprisingly, he's actually gone for a cut tyre, a medium compound Dunlop, but he's put a cut in it. So maybe he wants to use a bit of extra road.
Has the test session worked? No, 6 minutes 07.4. So back to the drawing board for the former champ. Patrick Malley now improving through the stage.
Small crest 10 to long 6 right, keep in 120.
Room on that left there.
Yep.
Well, you hear Patrick Malley talking about the road there because they do this stage a little bit later on, so he's improving his pace notes as he goes through. It's something the world champion Sebastian Loeb does on a regular basis.
Malley 7th fastest, makes up a place on Ben Jagger. Jagger had a scare at the service in Middlemarch when he and co-driver Ben Hawkins had to push the car into the service park, but normal service resumed now. He's in 8th place, although just lost a bit of time there.
Tightens 5, opens over 30, tightens 5, 80, 5 right plus, line.
This is Kingsley Thompson's second season as Evo 10, showing real improvement on the stage. 6th fastest, and that meant that Thompson was now just 2.9 seconds behind Sloane Cox in 9th place. These two Evo 10s having a great head-to-head match-up in the championship.
5 right, don't cut.
Well, that voice is Sloane's sister, Taryn. She's back in the car after having a year off co-driving for Jeff Argyle.
Matt Jansen still having a real struggle with his Subaru, trying to sort out that centre diff.
It's got 160 to a 5.
Well, you can see that really. The car's just moving around. Basically, the problems come back again from day one. Centre diffs causing the problem. It makes the car very vague. It really drives on its own.
Two of the big improvers on day 2, Marcus van Klink from Christchurch. His debut of the championship in an open class car on day 2. He was up to 13th overall. Right behind him, Brian Green, the veteran campaigner, who's returned to the championship this year, now up to 14th. So Westie still leads just 4 seconds, but Hawkswood is the big improver here up to 3rd now.
Jeff Argyle in 6th place and Patrick Malley now on the move in 7th.
Stay with us, 4 stages to go on Rally Otago. Welcome back. Stage 13, Longdale, run in reverse to previous years. Another fast, dusty trail with Chris West being the trailblazer, leaving the rest of the field to find their way through that dust.
Well, I'm not sure if the dust is going to be a problem because there's a big breeze blowing, a northwester coming off the mountain, so maybe the dust issue will be gone for the rest of the day. Lifts the wheel through there. But it's a real big battle at the top at the moment, about 5 seconds separating the top 5 as Westie comes down to the finish.
Fast stage, what time is he going to set? Out in front, 6 minutes 56.2. Emma Gilmore, she's still in touch. Can she take the lead?
Well, going into the stations are out 4.5 seconds, so can she narrow the gap to Chris West? In fact, the top 5, you can throw a blanket over them at the moment. Driving with big commitment through there as she comes down to this fast downhill finish. Her time?
She beats them by 0.7 seconds, so the gap is now just 3.3. Right, Dean Sumner and Andrew Hawks were retired going into the stage, but someone's going to come off worst off.
Well, Andrew's got the head down coming through the stage here. And he's going a little bit wide there, so New Zealand's most spectacular rally driver's on a charge.
Hawkswood's time, 7 minutes 0.8, so what can Dean Sumner do now in response?
Well, what a fantastic battle we've got for the placings at the moment.
Looks like the baby-faced assassin, 7 minutes 0.1. He stays in 3rd. Hawkswood drops to 4th. Richard Mason now changed his car again between stages to try and get that all-important speed.
30 and 4 right plus.
I sort of get the impression that Richard Mason is starting to get a little bit of handle on this car. So maybe later we might see a major Richard Mason charge, but he's starting to look faster and faster through these stages.
7 right minus, so absolutely.
7 minutes 0.1, that's more like it. He closes to within 10 seconds of Hawkswood. So we've seen some great battles right throughout the field. In the two-wheel drive class, Stephen Barker had maintained the lead in the Group N Fiesta class throughout the day. He was now 14th overall and had moved ahead of Brian Green on his Evo 9. Matt Summerfield was having a great run on his Skoda Kiwi 2 class diesel car. The more open nature of the stages suiting the car. He was in 17th. One more stage before service and plenty of drama still to come on the roads around Middlemarch.
Well, just have a look at the roads and check out the speeds they can get up to at these special stages through a farmland. It is absolutely flat out, tapped out in 5th gear. Over 200 kilometres an hour as they come across the finish line.
Westie's time, 9 minutes 36.4. No Andrew Hawkswood, instead it's Patrick Malley, the next car on the road. Let's see if we can spot where Hawkswood has stopped.
Plus 120. It's Hawkswood.
Well, they found him.
We're on a straight, Jack.
Yeah, bro.
Yep. 6 left plus 120. 8
Well,
left
parked
over
on the
small
side of the road,
crest,
so
120.
maybe Andrew's got a bit of a mechanical problem there.
So late dramas there for the leaders on Rally Otago. Looks good here for Dean Sumner.
Well, again, these stages are particularly fast, so the slightest mistake and you're in big trouble. Oh, problem here for Dean Sumner. Look at his face, big rock in the road. Andrew Hawkswood, he's the one that's put it there. Andrew's hit a rock, that's what the problem is, and he's probably taken the front of his car out.
Maybe a chance for Emma Gilmore to have a clean run and get a buffer on Sumner. This is where Sumner had to take avoiding action, remember?
Well, Emma, you heard it as well.
Great 5 left, 120.
She nearly hit the rock too.
Oh, yeah, but then.
Well, she's got no brakes.
6 left plus over crest.
Look at her pumping the pedal. And Glenn's pulling the handbrake, trying to pull this car up.
Go. Got anything?
She's still pumping that pedal. There's nothing there. I wonder if she's broken the brake line, hitting a rock.
Right, minus.
9 minutes 50.7. That's cost her second place. She drops 2.5 seconds to Sumner. So Richard Mason third on the stage. She will move up to fourth, just 7 seconds behind Emma. So second to fourth, separated by just under 10 seconds. And Jeff Argyle, despite engine problems, he's in fifth, also in striking distance of second. So going into service, Chris West has a 15-second lead with 2 stages to go.
Ben Jagger leading junior, and look at Regan Ross, outstanding 10th, but this is disaster for Andrew Hawkswood.
We stalled on the line and I got a bit angry, and then we lost 5th gear, so we're driving in 4th gear and came over a crest and had a tree stump in somebody's gate post or something, and like real hard in the front, but no, we managed to get out. We've lost all boost pressure and that, so lost a lot of time.
But luckily no damage to the front of Dean Sumner's car after his lucky escape.
Completely off the road at about 180 k's, and yeah, just I think Andrew might have cleared a bit of a path for us and cleared a stump out, otherwise yeah, it would have been a bit nasty.
But wait, there's more. Just when you thought it was safe to go back to the stage, it's hard to do it without brakes.
A really good run at the start of the stage, and then just made a mistake over a crest. I know it wasn't very good, and ended up cutting through sort of a clearing area, which we didn't think was a problem, but when we went into the next corner, I went for the brakes, we had none, so made the last 6 kilometres very exciting, especially when we caught Andrew's dust and didn't realise we were catching it and just about missed the corner. So yeah, all in all, a very exciting last 6 kilometres of that stage.
So a couple of stages to go. Can Chris West hold on to the lead?
2 to go, so the day's panned out very good for us, and a little bit concerned in those last 3 with obviously the road conditions, but really focused on staying on the line and doing what we could with what we had. So we've kept them at bay, and we just got to maintain and obviously just consolidate through this last 2 stages.
Stage 15, a repeat of Bald Hill stage before the final track across the Otago Highlands. 28 kilometres, Netthorne stage. West still leads, along with everyone else. He'll improve his time on the repeat run through the stage. An improvement from 5 minutes 56.7 to, what will it be?
5 right, minus 100.
5 minutes 36.6. Dean Sumner was continuing to improve his pace. Aside from the battle for day 2 honours, it looked like he was edging out a narrow margin over Emma Gilmore for second place outright over the 2 days. Here's his stage time, 5 minutes 34 flat, so now just 12.5 seconds behind West for the day. Emma Gilmore just seconds off his pace through here.
Well, they put new brake caliper on the car, and it's quite critical. Emma was saying about running the big brakes because these stages are so fast, so they have got the big brakes back on the car.
5 minutes 35.2, so now she trailed Sumner in third by 3.7 seconds. And Richard Mason, another great drive through the stage.
3 left, minus.
Fastest of this group, 5 minutes 33.7. Now just 9 seconds separating second to fifth, with West another 12 seconds ahead. So
60.
Great driving in Rally Otago.
Right, narrow 4 left, minus.
So West out in front by 12.5 seconds. But I tell you what, you can throw a blanket over the rest as we head towards the final stage of Rally Otago. So with one stage to go, let's take a look at the leaders in the class battles of Rally Otago. Kiwi 2 went to Matt Summerfield after Reg Cook retired with suspension failure on special stage 15. And another class win for Stephen Barker and Richard Ellis in the Rally New Zealand scholarship entry. And what a turnaround for these two. 2009, Jeff Judd co-drove Mark Tapper in the PWRC. Now in 2010, Tapper has co-driven Judd in a 1978 Vauxhall Chevette to second place in the historic class. 16th overall. Good skills, guys. And talking of historics, check that out. The winner, Regan Ross, won every battle this weekend. Continued to score top 10 times overall. Ended up 9th overall on day 2. Andrew Hawkswood retired in the final stage, so an easy class winner. Maximum points for Jeff Argyle, who finished 4th overall despite a blown head gasket. Matt Jansen never solved his centre diff problem, but still managed to get home in 10th place. And the battle for 8th continued right to the end. Sloane Cox and Ben Jagger also fighting for the Junior Championship honours. Cox was the fastest of the two in the last stage, but Ben Jagger stayed 12.5 seconds ahead to finish 7th overall. Kingsley Thompson coming home in 6th place. Great drive. Another top 5 finish for Patrick Malley.
Well, combined with his 3rd place on day 1, 5th place on day 2 here, means really good points for Patrick Malley early on in the National Rally Championship.
So with just one stage to go, the battle would be for 2nd place. West had a handy 12.5 second lead. Looks set to finish a great weekend with another win.
7 Ks, 3 left plus 80. There's a busted wheel.
I think Cobby's just said they've broken a wheel. Well, they've turned the car around. There's a problem here.
Can you believe it? Bad luck for Chris West, and now Dean Sumner catching his dust. Look at the drama up ahead here.
Well, he's actually been stopped here by Chris West. In fact, Chris West is blocking the road.
Sumner can't believe his luck, or the bad luck for Chris West.
So, well, Dean Sumner grits his teeth because effectively at the moment he's in the rally lead.
16:50.3 for Sumner.
We couldn't have driven any harder, eh?
So talk about a dramatic finish to Rally Otago. The big threats now, Emma Gilmore and Richard Mason. And if Emma can beat a stage time by 3.8 seconds, she can win the day. But first she's got to get past Chris West.
Well, she had to slow right down there for Westie, so that could be quite crucial for the end of this stage.
40, 5 left plus hug. 5 left plus hug.
Emma about 4 seconds down on Dean in there.
Yeah, we just struggled with the brakes. They just went off near the last half of the stage. So, yeah, we definitely lost a bit coming down the hill at the end. But, oh well, that's the way it goes.
So Richard Mason now will have to beat Sumner's time by 9.2 seconds to win the day. That's a big ask over 29 Ks in this sort of competition.
This is tailor-made for Richard Mason, though. He's on an absolute charge through there. Can he do it?
16:34.8, unbelievable. He's done it, taken out day 2. So what an amazing turnaround for Richard Mason to take out day 2. Sumner second today, though. That gives him the overall rally honours and the championship lead.
What a drive. 9th for Regan Ross, leads the historic. Stephen Barker, best of the Fiesta class.
Matt Summerfield will lead the Kiwi 2 points. Sole finisher in the class today. An unbelievable day for Mason and the rally winner, Dean Sumner.
We were at the last service, I said to the guys, we're going to win the day today. And they're like, no, it's too much to ask you. 27 seconds down. It's like, no, we're going to win it. We're really close now. So, awesome finish.
An unbelievable weekend, you know, just been basically consistent all weekend, and we didn't have the fastest start yesterday, having been out of the car for so long, but, you know, and a lot of other people had problems as well, but, yeah, we showed some good pace today, and, yeah, hopefully it deserved it.
Next up, it's Rally New Zealand as the Kiwis will battle it out for the Vantage Aluminium Championship alongside the best in the world. We'll see you then.